We have Shane McClanahan, we have Drew Rasmussen, we have Shane Baz, we have Taj Bradley, we have Zack Littell, and Ryan Pepiot. 6 names for 5 spots. And the question is, who's going to be the man left out?
You are Locked On Rays, your daily Tampa Bay Rays podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Rays, your daily podcast covering everything Tampa Bay Rays, from game analysis to player interviews. We've got you covered with all the latest news and insights. My name is Kevin Weiss.
I'm Ulysses Sembrano,
bringing you expert analysis and passionate discussions about our beloved Rays.
Whether you're a diehard fan who vividly remembers Longo's Game 162 just like us,
or you remember the early Devil Ray days of Wade Boggs and Carl Crawford,
we're here to break down every play, every trade, and every milestone. In fact, this will be our 7th season covering the Rays daily.
In every season up till 2024, they've gone to the playoffs, but it is spring training, so go ahead, grab your favorite Rays gear, settle in, subscribe to our Locked On Rays YouTube channel and other podcast platforms. You can also find us on X and Instagram at Locked On Rays.
This episode is brought to you by you, the YouTubers. Thank you for hitting that like button. Thank you for hitting subscribe. It really means a lot to. And you know what? If you do the trifecta, which is adding a comment under the video, heck, we are forever thankful. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So thank you all for doing your little bit to get this channel to keep on growing.
Indeed. And before we get into the topic of the day, stadium watch time. "57 days since the bonds were approved." Any notable number 57s in a Rays?
You would think not, but there are names we can all recognize, such as Scott Kazmir, who only wore it in 2004, Trevor Miller in 2008, Jake McGee from 2010 to 2015. That's a big one. We got Jamie Schultz in 2018, Aaron Slegers 2019 and 2020. That's a dark horse, but I think this one is the one we all know, and we all are rooting for him, Mr. Drew Rasmussen.
Yes. It's funny because all the names you rattled off, pitchers, correct?
Yes.
I guess the 50s outside of 56 and Randy, that must be a hot spot for the pitching position. And it's very apropos because we are now in the throes of spring training, and over the next couple weeks, we'll be doing a spring training report, so to speak, diving into some of the big questions and storylines of Rays Camp 2025. And we eventually will be talking about the offense, the new additions, the young players, a lot of different items to get to. We're basically copying and pasting what Mark Topkin wrote in the Tampa Bay Times. Figured, hey, might as well make it a good segment or two here. And one of the big question marks and something to be determined and figured out is the starting rotation. And it's a good problem to have because right now the Rays technically have one too many players or more than one too many players for 5 starting rotation spots. And during the course of the offseason, we brought up the idea, well, if they have X number of guys, why don't they just go to a 6-man rotation? And I think Erik Neander recently was pretty clear on, yeah, we're probably most likely not going to a 6-man rotation. So
you're not that far away from what the actual quote was which was very poignant. He says, we don't anticipate going to a 6-man rotation. We've been pretty clear about that. There's just a lot between now and that point of deciding. So yeah, that's as clear as day. It ain't happening. Okay. It's good podcast fodder during the off season, but once spring training is here, it's nah, fam. We're not doing that. We're doing 5, which, Topkin, like you said in his article, you guys should check that out if you haven't yet. 9 things that, the Rays fans should pay attention to during spring training. This competition of the rotation is probably one of the coolest things we are going to see, if not the coolest thing that we're going to see during spring training, and one that we haven't really had with this much talent. Like, Taj Bradley could not be part of the rotation, or Zack Littell could not be part of the rotation, who, in my opinion, and I think in yours too, should be the opening day starter. The Rays have always given the opening day start who earned it the year before. No matter, did you earn it last year? Were you the best pitcher that we had? That was the best pitcher that the Rays had. So he could not. He's a possibility of not making the rotation. It's insane. So should we go through the names, Kevin, of who's battling it out?
Yeah. So of course we have Shane McClanahan, we have Drew Rasmussen, we have Shane Baz, we have Taj Bradley, we have Zack Littell, and Ryan Pepiot. 6 names for 5 spots. And the question is, who's going to be the man left out on opening day? And by left out, that could mean being sent to the minors. I don't necessarily think that would happen. Being left out could be, hey, we'll make you a swingman in the bullpen, or we're in such a good spot, we're going to trade one of you guys, maybe for some offense or prospects or some combination thereof. So that's where we're at right now. Having said that, you also, it's kind of a big gamble on expecting all 6 of these guys to be totally healthy going into the regular season. I feel like a nick or a bruise or a setback or a something might hamstring, for lack of a better term, somebody. It's just it just seems like the 6, 7, 8 weeks, whatever it is, something bad happens.
And that's what I think Neander was alluding to in that quote. There's a lot of time between now and then deciding. Like, that's the most polite way of saying they're pitchers, man. They get injured. And I know it's fun to talk about right now, like, oh, who's going to be making it out and who's going to be out. But I don't want to say 90%, but there's a very high percentage, and I want to hear what you think that percentage lies, of how that this will be solved by itself, not by actually making a decision. It's just by Mother Nature just telling you these are the available guys. I want to hear your percentage about what you think that is likely to happen. But first, Kevin, I think I kind of need a snack, man. I'm kind of hungry.
Well, you could check out some wonderful pistachios. Yeah, that's what they're called. Wonderful pistachios. If you're looking for a snack that's both delicious and nutritious, well, go ahead, crack into a good source of protein with Wonderful Pistachios. Wonderful Pistachios is one of the highest protein nuts. Each 1 ounce serving has 6 grams of protein, giving you over 10% of your daily value. Plus, they're packed with fiber and better for you unsaturated fats to help keep you feeling fuller longer. Did I also mention that Wonderful Pistachios is a complete protein providing all 9 essential amino acids. It's also, as we know, a great grab and go snack. As you're busy, I'm busy, we're all busy. It's great to just, grab a pack of those and get to work from there. So don't waste any more time. Get snacking and get cracking with the snack that packs a protein punch. Go ahead and visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more. I'm not going to spell all that out, just wonderful, the word pistachio, pistachios, combine it together.com, and you're good to go. Wonderfulpistachios.com is the place to visit. All right, getting back to the topic of pitchers, namely starting pitchers. I would say greater than 50% of it solving itself out.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to be so pessimistic to say, 90 or 95%, but I would say a greater
but...
than 50% chance that something is going to happen that makes the Rays say, all right, well, we got our 5 guys because one guy isn't available for some reason or another. And sometimes it doesn't even necessarily have to be injury. It could be, your wife is giving birth or something like that.
Right. Also, again, this is a time for hope. I get it. Spring, blank, 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 whatever, however.
Spring is in the air.
Thank you. Well, no, there's another one like spring renews or whatever the bleep it is. But there's a
Opportunity Springs. I don't know.
Sure. It's not that one, but sure. That we can have that as a placeholder. People can fill it in the YouTube comments. I don't want to be a fatalist here, but I mean, the likelihood is more than 50%. I agree with you. But the likelihood that only one of them gets injured?
You think more than one could be?
I think that's in play, man. These are pitchers, bro. These aren't, and I don't, football is not my cup of tea, but it's really amazing how different sports, you see a guy like, oh, he's day to day, and he basically broke his knee, and then on the next Sunday he's playing. Mm-hmm. It's remarkable. Baseball players are not that way, man. A baseball player feels a tweak and he's out 4 to 6 weeks. Actually, Whit Merrifield was on a podcast talking about this exact same thing, how he thinks he's played it wrong in his career because he has played with injuries and has not had himself the time to heal, but he thinks that it's a valuable commodity to be available, which I think a lot of baseball fans think that way, but teams don't care really. They see the percentages. Like when you were on the field, were you good? And if there's something happening, some guys just take the IL stint, and that's what Whit was talking about. So I don't know. I feel like in spring with pitchers, it's very easy to say, "Ooh, I didn't like how that felt," or "Hey, it's the first time I actually threw 98. That doesn't feel so good." So yeah, I hope nothing happens, and I hope that by March 28th, 6 guys are healthy as heck. But the likelihood that all of them are going to be healthy is very low, or at least let's say low. Mm-hmm. The likelihood that 4 of them are healthy, I would put more money that 4 are healthy than 6.
All right. Then that means Joe Boyle, come on down.
Exactly.
Alex Fido, come on down. It's good to have those depth pieces when you're in a pinch. Plus, I mean, we know about Shane and Drew, but you also consider that, Zack Littell has thrown a lot of innings over the last couple of seasons, something that he probably didn't ever expect in his career to be put in that type of role that he was supplanted to. And he needed a break due to fatigue last season. Ryan Pepiot, the old doubling his innings from 2023 to 2024. That is like the kiss of death on the Rays. You see a guy like Jeffrey Springs bump up his innings. You see a guy like Drew Rasmussen bump up his innings. You can pretty much expect that an injury is on the 4 there. You hope it's not, but it could be. Now, if I'm being positive with all this, say that everybody goes into the regular season scot-free. Who is the odd man out, in your opinion? I guess some of it depends on how these guys perform in spring training, but like right now, there's got to be a little bit of a ranking system, an internal ranking system for the Rays of, this is kind of how we're slotting 1, 2, 3. All right, go on down to 4 and 5 and 6. And then they're just going to have to move the stickers up and down.
Absolutely. Absolutely. They definitely have that in mind. Obviously, they're not going to show their hand, but I'll start from the ones that I don't think are going to get quote unquote cut. McClanahan is not, he's making it.
Okay.
If he's healthy. Rasmussen, you don't send an extension for that kind of money, for that kind of raise money by making you a swingman or a bullpen guy. You're in the rotation.
Okay.
So Raz and McClanahan, they're in. So you're talking 4 guys for the next 3 spots. 3 young guys in Pepiot, Baz, and Taj, and then Zack Littell. Zack Littell is Like, he is such an enigma because he deserves, again, like I said, to be opening day starter, but I could easily see him being that that arm, that elastic arm that is like, hey, can we have you in the bullpen
Yeah.
for right now? Or can we be cheeky? Neander says, let's allow ourselves to be cheeky on February 12th. Okay.
Right.
Neander said no 6-man rotation. If you piggyback, is that a 6-man rotation? Because I don't think so. Could we see a scenario where you keep these 6 guys? You say, Shane McClanahan, you start the game, but after 3 innings, you're outie. Or
Yeah.
Drew Rasmussen, you start the game, 3 innings, you're outie. We're watching your innings, bud. This is not going to be for the whole year. This is till June. This is till August, whatever it is. I understand that by doing that, now your bullpen is going to be depleted. Your bullpen is -1 guy. Would the Rays that love to use their bullpen, would they actually do that? I don't think so, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's tough. I mean, one way to look at it is even with the pedigree of Shane McClanahan and Drew Rasmussen, I mean, depending on how good they're feeling going into the regular season, you could tandem them up together and say on this day, Shane Mack is pitching 3, Drew Rasmussen is pitching 3, and there's your 6 innings right there. And you hopefully would win that game. And then when they build up their stamina and their endurance and they feel that they can throw 90 or 100 or 105 pitches, then you let the leash off them a little bit. And all right, Shane, you have your own dedicated day. Drew, you have your own dedicated day. But maybe that's a way to ease those guys in coming off Tommy John while giving an opportunity to everybody still. But if everybody is like full go, 100%, no limitations going into the regular season, I would probably say it has to come down to Taj Bradley or Zack Littell. And in that case, maybe it is Zack Littell because I feel like they're much more bullish on what Taj Bradley can do in the future and what Ryan Pepiot can do in the future and what Shane Baz can do in the future. Like we've been talking about, hey, when's Zack Littell going to get dealt? You know, how much longer is he going to be with the team? And if the Rays are really feeling crazy, I mean, he is making $4, $5, $6 million this season. They could, you know, wish a trade on him at some point. I think it's good to have him as a depth piece, but I feel like this is you're still. I don't think the Rays are in a position to compete for an AL East title or anything like that. So I think this is a good opportunity to, all right, let's give the young guys as much action as possible and see who can really kick it for this year. And we know what we're dealing with in 2026, because I think Littell I don't see him as a long-term piece with this organization, which means that you may not care about his ego as much. And I think that just on the type of player he is, he would be okay with any situation. Not to say those other guys wouldn't be, but I think he has been around the block so much that if you say, hey, we're at a point, we need you in the swingman spot, he'd be like, yeah, whatever I can do to help. And I think that would be a way to ameliorate the good problem that you have at the moment.
If he is available, again, this world where they're all healthy, he either becomes a swingman or you deal him, because you swing him because he's been in the bullpen. You don't care so much about the ego because, again, he's an older guy, plus not a plan for the future. So those things go into that bucket. But if everybody's healthy and you're not doing the piggybacking, which I want to go back to that. Remind me to go back on that.
Okay.
This is the highest possible value Zack Littell is going to be for trading purposes, unless he starts the season really well and you can deal him in the trade deadline. Like, it's either the best value you're going to get from Zack Littell or second best value because he could go off the first half. So,
and it would be great. Again, another team has some sort of, not wishing injury on anybody, but
Right.
some other team has a starter that they're relying upon. They go down. Hey, the Rays entering March, early April, they say, yeah, we really need Ha-Seong Kim to get here sooner than later. We need another bat. And that's where you could work something out where it's a win-win for both sides. We get a bat,
100%.
you all get your pitcher. And then, if we get into a pinch, Joe Boyle, get ready. Fido, get ready. I mean, you could also do the same thing where you find Zack Littell 2.0 off the scrap heap, which is what they did.
Or you hope Jacob Wagaspack is healthy, and you bring him out there. So I agree. If they're all healthy and there needs to be a cutoff, I don't think they're going to give the ego hit to one of their young guys, Shane, Taj, or Pepiot. I don't think so. I think Littell would be that guy. Now, let's go back to something very interesting you said, because again, we're living on the first day of camp opening, so everything is great.
Mm-hmm.
Man, when you set up a lineup, if you're the opposing manager and Shane McClanahan is on the bump, you're going to set your lineup as best as you possibly can. Right. And he's going to shove for 3 to 4 innings. And then you switch him up to a righty that just is as nasty. That you're making it incredibly difficult for that opposing manager to either deal with it the first 3 innings of their lineup, or do substitutions. And by the time that the 6th inning is done, there's no bench available for that. So you would put that opposing manager in a pickle if you were to do a piggyback as nasty as Shane McClanahan to Drew Rasmussen. Mm-hmm. I know it won't happen unless we're playing MLB The Show, but my God, I would really like to see that, man. That's the best one we've come up with.
Yeah, and even if, again, if McClanahan and or Rasmussen are limited, you could do the same thing with Zack Littell. It might not have as much punch as pairing McClanahan and Rasmussen, but okay, McClanahan, give us 3 2/3. All right, Zack Littell, try to give us 5. Then you just saved your bullpen. You don't need the bullpen after that. So, I mean, I think the Rays hopefully will be creative. I know that they want the traditional 5 starters and 8 relievers, but I think there's some middle ground of a quasi starter, a quasi bullpen piece. If you get in a bind or you just want to figure something out, especially with, the rain and the heat of Steinbrenner Field, that might throw a wrench into things as well. Something, Shane McClanahan's start gets delayed. All right, what do we do? Maybe we just need to change course and put our swingman in, whatever it is. So, having said all that,
that's bothering me. It's would they be okay with having one less bullpen man if they're doing this piggybacking thing?
Yeah,
because that might be tough for them to swallow.
Yeah. So that remains to be seen. Speaking of that, or related to the topic of today, by year's end, which of these 6 guys do you think will have the most innings to their name?
I'm going to go with Ryan Pepiot.
Okay. So you think he's going to stay healthy from 23 to 24, that he's got the build and the talent to be able to do that?
Stable guy. I mean, the stability was pretty impressive from him, like quality-wise. I don't think he's a number 1 starter. He could develop into that. Right now, I don't really see him like that. I see him like a Jake Odorizzi, like a 1 if you need one, but the Rays never really need a 1. There's always a 1 and a 1A and a 1B.
Right.
I think he slots right perfectly for a number 3 starter or a 2 lower level. And in this case, he could be the 5th starter, and you're taking that all day to the bank as a 5th starter. I mean, I would go with Ryan Pepiot, and a close second would be Littell if he's not dealt.
Okay.
Rubber arm.
Who will have the lowest ERA of all 6 players?
Shane Baz.
Okay. I am very bullish on Shane Baz. I actually think he will, hot take here, deliver the most innings and have the lowest ERA.
Love
I
that.
think this is his breakout season. This is where he goes nutso.
We need it.
There really should not be anything holding back. He had that period following his injury. We saw what he could do. I think this is the next step to really let him unleash. So.
Exactly.
All right. Very good. Put it in the comments what you think. But yeah, that is our first spring training report, is the starting pitching situation. We'll have other topics to get to on the show. But I think we might have a fun guest later on this week. So might have to take a breather between these topics. In the meantime, hope you all have a wonderful day. Stay safe, and we will talk to you later.